Thank you very much, Hank. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, hermanos y hermanos, it's really good to be here on Loyola's campus. I used to live around the corner, and I have fond memories of running on the track and that old deep water pool that we used to have over in a building that's gone. I am the president of the 49th Ward Democrats, and it's kind of a position I got a little bit by accident. I'll get to that, but I want to say that our alderman, Joe Moore, our ward committeeman, David Fagus, our state representative, Kelly Cassidy, and our state senator, Heather Staines, they all are unable to be here tonight, but they send their good wishes. They wish you well, and they encourage you to not only be registered to vote, but to become active. On the 15th, I believe that's a Saturday, we're having a rally at the party headquarters at the corner of Ravenswood and Greenleaf, and then we need people to help with the election on the 18th. So hopefully some of you will get excited about all of this and will get involved. Let me tell you a little bit about this 49th Ward Democratic Party. The current shape of it really came to be between a group that was outside the regular Democrats, Network 49, and it was kind of a rapprochement between the more progressive sectors and the old regular party. I'm not sure of the date, but it was probably close to 1976. David Orr, who was the most getting of votes guy in the county, he's the Cook County clerk, he's going to speak after me, but he was a professor at Mundelein, and he took on the machine, and he won, and he turned out to be one of our most progressive aldermen, and he was the mayor for a short period of time after our late great mayor Harold Washington passed on. After David moved on to the county clerk, Joe Moore was elected. Joe became really in the forefront of a lot of progressive initiatives in the city, and he helped to create an organization that has a steering committee and has a membership that is not just the usual top-down, the ward committeeman or the alderman deciding how things are. We have a robust and democratic body. We meet, we discuss issues, and we take it a little further. We don't just concern ourselves with what's going on in the 49th Ward or even in the city. We have a series of phones, we have phone banks, computers, and in all the most recent elections, in 2008 for Obama, in 2012, we made calls and sent people to Iowa, up to Wisconsin, over to Indiana. A lot of great work got done by a lot of dedicated people, and that is something that we are going to continue to do. We are re-upping and getting ready for the upcoming election and for the 2014 election and the 2016 election. I got into this being the president kind of by accident. I've mentioned it twice, I'll get to that, but I want to share a little bit of where I'm coming from. I'm an older guy, I'm 72 now, and I've seen a lot of things. I remember President Truman. I remember President Kennedy. I remember the day he was killed. I was a pretty loyal Democrat. My father had taken me to an Adlai Stevenson headquarters in '52. That's the first kind of political work I remember doing. I began to question some things, though, about the Democratic Party when Fannie Lou Hamer from the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party she and others challenged the regular Democrats from Mississippi, accusing them of racism. Basically, black people were cut out. And that, I grew up on Jackie Robinson, I grew up on rock and roll, I admire people from all races and religions and backgrounds, but I was taken back by this, and I was really aware that there was something wrong. I ended up at Lake Forest College. I was there from 60 to 64, and a couple of things that I thought of today that reminded me of racism back then, which I am going to say is still a major issue today. Back then, I remember an African student tried to get his hair cut at the local barbershop, and he was refused. As a young guy playing football up there and wanting to lift weights in the off-season, I went to the Waukegan YMCA to check out their facilities. Lo and behold, it was segregated, and I found that there was a small black Y in North Chicago. So I was a little bit moving to the left. A group of raggedy band of hippies came through town talking about atomic bombs and disarmament, and it was called the San Francisco to Moscow Peace March. these things caught my attention. I got a fellowship and went out to the University of California at Berkeley, and virtually the day I was there was a police car surrounded, and there was a guy named Jack Weinberg, who's in Chicago these days, who the university said you were not allowed to raise money for off-campus events. Well, a lot of people had just come back from Mississippi doing voter registration. And clearly this was not the time to try to suppress people who were concerned about changing race relations and talking about wars and those kind of issues. So it wasn't a place to really be an active Democrat. And I did move to the left. I joined Students for Democratic Society. I became a national officer. I moved into West Oakland organizing in a black community. And then Stokely Carmichael from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee suggested, I said, I'm going to leave California. I'm either going to go to work in Newark in a black community or in Chicago in a southern white community here in Uptown. And he said, work with white people. We've got a lot going on in the black community. We need more stuff in the white community. So I ended up in Chicago. I ended up doing rent strikes. I ended up with helping people with demonstrations at the welfare office. We started food buying co-ops. I got to speak with Dr. King at an anti-war rally at the old Coliseum. I was a pretty out there radical guy. I started a group after that called Rising Up Angry. And Rising Up Angry started off being very militant, but as the Black Panther Party changed their position, and we did too. We used to have a gun on the cover and all power to the people, but we toned it down. We started a free health clinic. We started legal programs. We bused people to prisons to visit their family. We did a lot of things, and we started to pay more attention to electoral politics. In '76, I started the Heartland Cafe with my business partner, Katie Hogan, who's a Mundelein graduate, also active in the 49th Ward Democratic Party. And the Heartland really was intended to be a place that people would gather for all kinds of people. And we were trying to get to them through their stomachs a little bit. You eat healthy and you care about your own self and your own physical well-being. Well, you ought to care about the well-being of other people. So, lo and behold, 2 nights before he was elected, he won the primary, Harold Washington showed up to a packed house. It was a wonderful affair. Later, over time, David Orr became the Cook County clerk. He was around. Jan Schakowsky, who's our wonderful congresswoman, she was around. And these are both people who probably started in progressive politics and then got involved in the Democratic Party too. Eventually, we had Barack Obama show up at the Heartland when he was running for the Senate. And we got to interview him on the Live from the Heartland show, which is on the Loyola College station, WLUW 88.7, WLUW.org, anywhere in the world. It's a great station. You should pay attention to it if you don't. So, the Heartland was my life in a lot of ways. I supported these candidates. At a certain point, the ward committeemen and the aldermen asked me to run for the presidency of the Democratic Party, and I did that. And it was kind of a figurehead. I'd introduce the meetings. But over time, that has started to change, and we have tried to build an organization that has, as I said earlier, robust dialogue, real democracy, real decision-making, not like a lot of other Democratic organizations or certainly Republican organizations, other places that are top-down. We really believe in democracy. So what does it mean to be a progressive? A lot of people call themselves progressive these days. A lot of people are about, it's okay, gay marriage is okay, and medical marijuana, oh yeah, that's cool. We even legalized marijuana. But I think that if we're going to really talk about changing this country and really about meeting the needs of the people and having politicians who are responsible to the base, we have to really address some serious issues in a real serious way. I think the most serious issue that still faces us is race. I read a book one time. It was called Jesse James, The Last Rebel of the Civil War. I won't go into the kind of way he was an active Confederate, a slave-owning family, shipping hemp down the Missouri River for the cotton industry in the South. But in that book I read, the guy said, I'm not sure who the author was, but he said, when the Republican Party gave up on post-Civil War changes and really bringing about equality, the nation really lost its soul. And I think that if you study your history, study American history, you know really well that we have serious problems around race still. And we could go a little further. What about women? We hear the Republican Party defending their position on women. We hear the Democratic Party, I think, taking a better position. But women are still the people who hold up more than half the sky. They carry a heavy load, and they get paid 3/4 of what men get. Let's talk about poverty. You know, that's a new thing that's coming up. We have Paul Ryan and the other Republicans talking about poverty. They claim to be a party, you know, that's about free enterprise and going forward. But they're not really good on immigration. They're not really good on equality. They're not good on women's rights. They're not good on a lot of things. So poverty is a major issue. I did have the honor of speaking with Michael Harrington back when I was a young guy at Berkeley, and some of you may have read his book, The Other America. It talked about poverty in America, and it led to Lyndon Johnson putting together a poverty program and a number of other programs that I think really were good, but probably didn't go far enough and haven't had enough support in recent years. There are other issues too. In this state, we have a strong coal lobby, so we still cater. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, we still cater to the coal interests. We let the fracking interests come in and to you know, force water into our ground. This will have serious ramifications, and we will be paying for it later on. We have unions in this state that are under attack like unions everywhere else. Unions are important. You know, they're the organizations of the working people, the majority of the people. Let me just say, I think there's less than 1,000 people own more wealth in the world than the rest of the people in the world combined. And you think about that. So we have a corporate interest problem. We have Democrats who cater to corporate interests. I like to think of the Democratic Party still as a big tent. You know, we hear that term, but you know, in portions of the tent, you can breathe a little bit better than in other parts. The air is cleaner. Is my time getting short? Okay, my time is getting short. So let me just say, as we go forward, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of issues to take on. We need to educate people. We need to educate. We have to organize. We want to liberate people. There's one of the things I like to say in talking to young people a lot of times is the best thing that white people in this country can hope for is that someday they will be viewed as a minority within the whole that worked for the good of the whole. And as a country, I think the best thing we can look forward to is to be viewed in the world community as a country that worked for the good of all and not just for their own self-interest. So with that, I'm going to leave you and have some other people come up. I encourage you to do good in the world. I'm going to just say the thing I used to say when I sold papers on a corner. I say it at the end of my radio show. I say, it's time to take the chain from the brain. It's time to get back in the people's game. It's time we move it from the lower level to the higher, from the shallower to the deeper, from the one-sided to the many, and from the abstract to the concrete. We've got a lot of work to do. I hope you'll join up with us. All power to the people. Thanks.